Wow.
Whoa. Are you sure we're in Scotland? It's incredible.
Welcome to Scotland.
Yay, our first time in Scotland.
It is cold,
Yeah.
but we won't draw attention to that because that is absolutely to be expected, and it adds to the
I like it when you have to rug up warm.
It is quite nice, isn't it? So we are taking a 3-day tour with Rabbies, who you might remember late last year we did a trip in England and Northern Ireland with them, and we absolutely loved it, so we've made sure that we're coming back, but we didn't want to see the typical Scotland. This one, I think this is going to be absolutely epic.
Yeah, so we are heading to the island of Lewis and Harris, which is Scotland's largest island. It is so far north, it's above the Isle of Skye, and while we're there we're going to be figuring out the absolute best things to do there.
Apparently the beaches up there would rank up there with some of the best in Europe.
They look incredible. Maybe not for swimming at this, I mean it is summertime, but...
Yeah, maybe not. You can hear the seagulls, so I feel like the scene has already started, but we're just waiting for our guide at the moment at the bus station. And then we're literally heading straight out to the car ferry to head over to Lewis and Harris.
We're going to drive and drive and drive all the way to the west point, Ullapool, and we're going to get on the ferry. Now the ferry takes 2.5 hours and it's big, so don't worry about seasickness, it's usually okay.
We're on the ferry now, we've come up to the observation deck. It's very fancy.
This is a nice, I was going to say cruise ship.
Well, it kind of is though, really. It feels like it could be. There's apparently this is the highest chance of us actually seeing dolphins up here, so we've got a view. There's just windows absolutely everywhere.
Start away in the sunshine. This is very strange. This is not normal. No, Lewis is one of the wettest places in Britain.
We're really getting into the spirit now. Got the Scottish music cranking. We're heading north to a place with, let's just say, quite a funny name, but it's supposed to be one of the most spectacular spots to visit anyway. When we said we were coming to Scotland, I can almost guarantee that most of you were not expecting what we're looking at right now. This this is a sight that has even blown me away. This is like the Caribbean, what we're looking at now. This beach, really white sand, the absolute clearest water. You can literally see the sand through the water, and then there's this Scottish rugged sort of like cliff and landscape and rocks. This is absolutely magical. Made it now to the spot that I sort of hinted at with the funny name. This is known as the Butt of Lewis.
We're so immature, we find it so amusing.
We're asking why it's called the Butt, and apparently there's not really much of a reason, at least not that anybody seems to know. It's just that that is the end of the road. It literally is.
It's the end.
It is the end.
This is like the northernmost part of the island, and directly in front of us is Iceland.
And out that way is Norway. Like, that's sort of where we are situated on a map. It's kind of crazy.
It's insane. The other interesting thing that we just learned as well is that this is the windiest place in Britain. Today has only been ranked a 4 out of 10 on the wind scale, but some days people aren't allowed to drive up here because the wind is so strong. Your car's just going to be blown over
the vans
over
will
the butt.
tip over. They said that they've lost doors, as in they've gone, like, popped around the wrong way.
I keep getting distracted by this huge lighthouse behind us too.
I'm as impressed, if not even more already, with what I thought this place was going to be. It really is.
The landscape is incredible, isn't it?
It's such a nice looking spot to be.
It's probably pretty important to take a look at the history as well. So this is actually one of the top things to do, is to check out the traditional black and white houses. So we'll explain a little bit more, but first, the first thing we have to do is go and buy our tickets. Tickets are normally £6, but because we're travelling with Rabbies, we get a 10% discount.
That's sweet discount.
Sweet deal.
There it is there.
This is the Black House.
Yeah, that's the Black House right there. We get to go inside.
Can I keep him?
No.
This whole landscape is made of peat, which is a type of sediment
That we had never heard of before.
that we've never heard of before. And basically, back in the day, people used to dig trenches. We actually saw a few now as well. And
We're about to here, yeah.
They would get the peat out as like bricks and then leave them to dry. Then they would use that peat to burn to keep themselves warm during the winter. And it was basically their source of heating.
Yeah, it's like a source of survival almost.
Yeah, so...
Go, keep going.
I've got so many stories.
Let it out.
The reason that these houses were called black houses is because they used to burn the heat 24/7, 24 hours a day, the fire would be going. And so eventually everything inside just turned black.
And they used to also invite their animals in the evenings to come into the house as well. So apparently everything got very dirty, and then eventually the outsiders, people not from here,
Like people
came
from the
in
mainland.
and said, this is disgusting, you need to move into these other places, the white houses, which are completely inefficient, not as good, and everybody hated it.
Yeah, well, they were built by people that didn't live here. So they were made of cement, had no insulation.
They didn't understand the peoples, did they?
They didn't understand the people.
Let's go and have a look. We're going to go in and we're going to have a look at this peat stack. This is very cool. I didn't anticipate that the fire would literally be on the floor in the middle of the room. Got the fire down here, and then there's all the cutlery and all that sort of stuff set up. So yeah, it's really nice. It's definitely cozy. It's a lot warmer in here, isn't it? And the smell is, apparently they liked the peat because the smell was a lot more appealing as well.
Yesterday we spent most of our time in the north of the island in Lewis. Today is going to be completely different. It blows my mind that this is one island, but the north and the south are so different.
The landscape, the terrain that we've just driven over this morning, we've driven about 45 minutes, we've just got to the border. It's just a separation, isn't it, between Lewis and Harris.
Lewis and Harris are separated by a mountain chain. So Harris is full of these insane mountains.
You can sort of see in the backdrop. Yeah.
And then Lewis is very marshy, like you would have seen.
Yeah, it's like
just
flat. Yeah, so today is going to be super interesting, but we wanted to keep this all in one video to show the contrast. And because it is one island, it is like one collective...
2 for 1.
Exactly right.
This is the sands of Luskintyre. It's about halfway between the tide being out and coming in, so you're not going to see as many sands as you sometimes do, but it's still going to be absolutely spectacular. There are the most amazing sand dunes, which you can just see some of in front of us.
This is one of the largest beaches on the whole island. Helen, our guide, was telling us this funny story as we drove in. There was a company that used a picture of this beach to advertise Thailand, and apparently they got sued, they got in all sorts of trouble, but the reasoning behind it was because it had no people on it. My first thought was, why don't you just Photoshop people?
Yeah. So I think it's a good point as well, while we're talking about water and beaches, to differentiate between what we keep seeing, which as we drive around.
You just want to say the name of the...
I totally do. So let's just call them. We keep seeing these pools of water. We have to call it that. No, we have to call it a loch. Because
loch.
Loch, because it is not a lake. We've been told, do not say the words lake, that we have now said twice.
But if it's a baby lake or a wee lake, it's called a...
Is that a lochny?
No, a lochin.
A lochin.
We're so good at this.
We're so good at this. They're absolutely everywhere, though. It's quite impressive. And they're not man-made either. It's just... They've just naturally formed.
They're also really, really dark because I think the soil here is so dark because of all the peat.
What's the peat? Yeah. Yeah, let's go check this out. Wow.
Whoa. Are you sure we're in Scotland?
It doesn't feel like it. This is New Zealand, isn't it?
It looks like New Zealand. It's incredible. Oh, it's such a soothing sound just hearing the waves.
We'd be lying if we said that we haven't been looking out the window for the past 2 days, just praying and hoping.
Here he goes. Sorry.
Do you want to explain more about what they are?
These are Highland cows, and they've got like these very emotional looking fringes on them.
Emotional, that's so good.
And apparently the black ones are the traditional Highland coos.
Yeah, Helen was telling us they are like the OG Highland coos.
I thought it was the gingery caramel ones.
No, they've been bred because I can't remember, generations and years ago, whoever it was decided they didn't like the black ones and wanted to create something a little bit different.
Racist!
But we've been looking for them everywhere. They're not close enough to like properly get up there though. We were told before the trip coming to Lawson Harris that we had to try the seafood because it's absolutely everywhere on all the signs and everything here. So we stopped up for lunch. I had scallops.
I had hake, which is a type of fish. So fresh.
But yeah, literally some of the freshest seafood I can remember us having in a very long time. And then we left and we drove on like this crazy unique road that was actually used in the movie 2001 Space Odyssey, and it was used as Jupiter in the movie because it was. How would you explain it? It
was just out of this world. There's just rocks everywhere. It's called the Golden Road, and they call it that because it was so expensive to make.
Now we're about to go into, just above Stacey's head there, you can see Isle of Harris Distillery to do some gin tasting for some local Harris gin. Very nice smell though. Wow, there's a lot going on in there.
Well, loads of flavour. What you picking up?
I'm picking like some licoricey and some kind of like
an anisey kind of
and
taste.
some like flowery kind of stuff going on there.
I can appreciate that.
It's a very complex gin, you could say. That's our review. Didn't quite feel right to finish off this video, which is on day 1 and 2, without inserting this little bit from our third day, which was about the Callanish stones. We've been talking a lot about like the best things to do, and this tour has helped us see a lot of them, but a lot of the gold, or one of the main things, was actually saved for today. So we're actually filming an entire vlog today on the stones and some of the other things that we're going to get up to as well, but there is so much mystery around them that we just felt like there is so much more information that we want to go into because there's so many tales and stories and all sorts. They're older than the pyramids and you actually get to touch them here. So that wraps up this video, but make sure you check back for the next one in a couple of days time because we'll go a lot more into it and sort of share some of those tales as well.